the Iranian regime wants to see Israel and the United States kind of come out of this conflict weaker at the other end. Since 1979, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the ruling elite that's been in charge of Iran for 44 years now, basically you could argue that they've been on this mission to get essentially two countries out of the Middle East. One is the United States, and the other one certainly is Israel. And to achieve this goal, they have supported a number of groups, what they call their Arab proxy militant allies. Principal among them are the group of Hezbollah in Lebanon, but there are other groups, including Hamas, among the Palestinians. So this is a long-term investment that Iran has made over the years in financial, arms support. And right now, I think the Iranian regime wants to see Israel and the United States kind of come out of this conflict weaker at the other end. But I have to stress, I don't see any signs that the Iranian regime actually wants to engage either Israel or the United States militarily directly. That's too much of a risk for them. They're not willing to go there as far as I can see.
And when you look at the rhetoric, the Iranian foreign minister saying Hezbollah will unleash a huge earthquake on Israel, Israel saying in return Lebanon would be returned to the Stone Age. But you don't feel, you think this is words at this point and it's not going to go any further than that?
Every single time these rounds of conflict happen, they're different. It's extremely difficult to predict. Emotions are running high on all sides. But just to take a step back and remind everyone, since Hamas was created in the late 80s, Israel and Hamas have engaged one another in rounds of military conflict for about 8 times. 8 times. And no time did it become a regional war. As I said, it could be different this time, but it could also be the case that we go back after a few days and weeks and the various parties decide, you know what, the risks are too high and we shouldn't go all the way and we should pull back. That's my hope. That's what President Biden is asking for. And when I listen to the Iranian leaders, as I said, they love the fact that they've given Israel a bloody nose because they've been looking for revenge for some time. As you know, Iran and Israel have engaged one another in a tit-for-tat for a decade plus. So it's good news from Iran's point of view that Israel is sort of shell-shocked. But that's not the same as saying Iran's going to risk everything, including the survival of the Islamic Republic, a regime that's very unpopular with the Iranian people, by taking the country into this sort of direction of the unknown of a military conflict. Again, as I said, I don't think the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei is willing to take that risk.
What is Iran's military capability? I mean, just as a background to this, how does it compare to Israel?
And in terms of size, obviously, Iran is about 8 times larger as far as population is concerned, much larger geographically. But there are other key characteristics that Iran has which needs to be pointed to. One is they have been sanctioned and isolated from the West in '79. So, for example, they don't have much of an air force. Their navy is pretty weak from we can tell, but they have assets in the sense of their missiles, which is probably the biggest, most formidable missile arsenal anywhere in the Middle East. In recent years, we've seen them develop a drone industry, including providing drones to the Russians in the war in Ukraine. So they have capacities, but nothing really reaches their capacity to unleash various proxy groups from Yemen to Iraq to Syria to Lebanon and among Palestinians with Hamas and Islamic Jihad. So yes, they have capacity to hurt. They have a proxy strategy, which is to sort of take the fight to their adversaries outside of Iran's borders. But you know, they've never really been tested since '79 in a fight with West, United States or allies Israel. The only conventional fight Iran has had since 1979 is the 8-year-long war with Saddam Hussein's Iraq from '80 to '88, and that was hardly something the Iranians are proud of.
So if there's not likely to be a military threat from Iran, are they likely to adopt different tactics?
No, I think what you can expect is 2 things. It's to continue support principally Hezbollah in Lebanon. I mean, Hezbollah is their ace. They're not willing to squander Hezbollah for a minor clash in the sense of risking the survival of Hezbollah by bringing it into the conflict. We're almost 2 weeks into this conflict. Hezbollah does provoke in the north, but Hezbollah has not been willing to enter the war fully. And that's for a good reason, because Iran created Hezbollah back in the day as a sort of last resort, if you will, if the United States ever actually attacked the Iranian homeland, which is not on the cards. And therefore, I think what we can expect as of right now, as I said, things changes pretty fast, but as of now, Iran will be looking to maintain Hezbollah as part of its deterrence going forward for years, perhaps decades to come, because I don't think the Iranians expect the end of Israel anytime soon, despite what some of the rhetoric might suggest. What I think you can expect is a lot more investment in terms of the Iranian diplomatic outreach to the rest of the Middle East, particularly those Arab countries that have moved closer to Israel. Iran wants to isolate Israel, also the United States. It wants to send a message that its model, the axis of resistance, is much better in defending the rights of the Palestinians than those countries that have been pursuing things such as the Abraham Accords of recent years. Iran's message to the region is, look, it didn't work. You can't deal with it. Israelis diplomatically, only armed resistance will work. And that's the challenge for Israel and the West. How do you counter that?
Mm-hmm. And what about different tactics, like, for example, cyber ops or something like that?
Iran has cyber capabilities. They have been able to prove that they have offensive cyber capabilities, and they might use some of that in this sort of multi-layered campaign that is already happening. But historically, what I know of Iranian cyber attacks is that they come in retaliation once they've been attacked. That's the track record of Iran. They don't necessarily seem to be the ones that act first. Oftentimes is in retaliation, as I said, once they have been attacked by their adversaries.